Ken Legler has been coming to Key West as a principal race officer for 20 years for Premier Racing. Usually does Division I, correct?
I have for the last several years, yes.
Right. Now this year you have an interesting fleet on your course, 5 different starts, mini maxi all the way down to a Melgus 32, correct?
We do indeed. We have lots of variety and lots of hot boats.
Can you tell us how you handle that type of situation where you have these very large maxi yachts that are 72 feet and then you've got the 32s? How do you spread them out so that they don't bother one another on the course?
Well, it works out well this year in that 3 of the classes, the HPR, the IRC, and the Melgus 32s, all go pretty close in speed when you average upwind and downwind. So they're all getting the same course. The mini maxis have a longer windward mark, and then they get a special leeward mark down below the starting line. Whereas the 52s get the longer windward mark, but then they come down to the gate that all the other classes round. And all those other classes will have a shorter windward mark. So they start at 5-minute intervals. I don't think there'll be anyone catching up to a class in front, despite the fact that the first 2 classes have longer courses. And I think they're going to finish between 5, maybe as close as 3 minutes apart, to about 8 minutes apart. So we'll be able to start all 5 races at 5-minute intervals, finish all 5, and then start them up again without any delays. I think it should work well.
Kenny, you've been roundly praised by the sailors on your course for years for your race management. Kind of talk about how you developed as a race manager. For those that don't know, Ken is the head coach of Tufts University Intercollegiate Sailing. Kind of how did you evolve into a high-level race manager?
Well, I got into it very early, professionally actually, at a place called the North American Sailing Center, back when U.S. Sailing was called NARU, on Lake Ontario, a place called Association Island, not far from where the Olympics were going to be in Canada. And Bill Benson was my race management mentor. We were a small crew of 10 and 12 people that ran races throughout the summer for all these different classes. We'd rumble in and then rumble out, another class would come in. So that was my college summer job, running races up on Lake Ontario.
Now, obviously, on your course, you have high-level professionals. You always have. Back to the days of the far 40s, huge fleets. How do you deal with some of these guys? These professionals are very, this is their life, their livelihood. They get very excited. I don't know that you've ever had confrontations with these guys, but I'm sure at times they've, come to you with concerns. How do you deal with these guys? Because you really, any little mistake can be a big deal.
Well, race committees make mistakes just like sailors do. We have a very high level of sailors here, and we have a very high level race committee. I'm not the only one on this race committee with a lot of experience. Just about anybody on our boat can be a PRO. Everybody's good. And so the odds are that we won't make any big mistakes, and if we do, we'll recognize our own mistakes right away and try to rectify them before anything bad happens.
Now, obviously, with college sailing, is there anything that when you run collegiate racing that applies here? I mean, big fleets, maybe. I don't know how. Is there anything that kind of applies to this? What you're doing here that you take from your collegiate sailing?
Well, sure, a little bit. I mean, we're still watching the wind, trying to set a square line and a fair beat and a good run leg, and we do that in college, and we do that here. Now, of course, college race management is kind of the mash of race management. It's very fast and very informal with very minimal flags. Here it's the opposite with all the formality, but we got plenty of people to take care of all the flags and bells and whistles. So, but it's the same thing. Set a square line and try to give them a fair race.
Now, again, we mentioned previously that you have very good boats on your course. You always have with the far 40s, now the 52-foot class. Do you ever have a moment after you get these guys started to actually enjoy the racing? Because you've got some great competition, some great sailing going on your course.
Well, I'm a little bit afraid to admit this, but I actually spend the whole race enjoying the race. We've got such a good race committee that I really am only there to kind of direct the traffic and talk on the radio before the race starts. And also watch the starting line and a few other things, but I bring a camera and I sneak it out when the moment allows me to do so, which is if the fleet's going to be late for the start, I can pull it out by the starting gun. If the fleet is right on her way over early, so I can't pull the camera out until the dust settles, but yeah, I watch the whole race from the bow.
What are some of the characteristics of Key West that make this such a great sailing venue, in your opinion? You've been here 20 years. You know better than anyone what this venue is like. What do you think keeps people coming back and makes this a great regatta?
Well, it's warm,
Yeah.
first and foremost.
In January.
Yes, if I wasn't here, I would be working on running races for J24s on Boston Harbor.
Oh,
Yeah, nice. No, it's not bad there today. It's above freezing. It's heavy rain, but it's above freezing. Unlike last week, where it was so windy we couldn't race. And we had another week where all the rudders were encased in ice. And another week where it was 15 degrees and snowing. And another week where it was 55 and incredibly mild and just gorgeous. But it's warm here, and the wind is good here because we are on an island way out to sea. We have very few calms. It's possible, but it's just they're very infrequent. We can have wind at any time of day, morning or afternoon, and so you're almost guaranteed good racing every single day, and you're also guaranteed great boats because this is one of the best boats in the world come for January racing.
right. Thank you, Kenny.